So what is a plot? A plot is a constructed set of sequences and scenes that usually revolve around your main characters. So before you can even effectively write an outline, before you write your first draft, you need to know what goes into that outline. You need to be able to construct enough information, enough material that then you can sew together into an outline. And I normally do this by creating several lists and scenes, just general random lists and scenes that belong in my story. There are many ways to create the scenes of your story. One way is to act them out. Try putting on a costume, take a few props with you, and act out a few scenes that you think belong in your story, and then jot those scenes down onto paper. Another way to create scenes is to create your environment first before you put your characters inside that environment. This is great for visualization, and you can do this with the help of reference material. Go places, try to envision your story in those places, embellish those places to create your true story environment, change it up, mix it around a little bit, create that story environment, and once you can vividly see the place of that story, it's easier to be able to see what the characters are doing in that place. Another way to create scenes is by connecting logic. This is looking at the overarching plot of your story and using what is missing. How do you need to fill in the gaps of that story and further flesh that story out? This connects the dots of your story. And it's the conventional way that many people might create an outline of their story. It's just analyzing, I need to get my character from point A to point Z, and what are all the points B through X that I need to take my character before he arrives at point Z. This is a good method, but I do encourage you to use more than just this method, because you want to be able to take the elements of your inspiration and come up with creative scenes for your story, not necessarily scenes that you would be able to create if you were just thinking, what is the shortest route my characters can take to arrive at their final destination. Another method is what I call scene scouting. Go places with a pen and paper and just try to come up with ideas for your story. Try to find places where you can hear yourself, think properly, and where your creativity can truly imagine and embellish your story. This is a fun way to create scenes, because you can even be doing this as you go throughout your regular schedule for that day or whatever appointments you have. Even as you talk to people, you can be thinking in the back of your mind what sort of places or events can be happening in your story. Then find a quiet place where you can quickly jot that down before you move on. So come up with a list of as many scenes that you can possibly generate that belong in your story. This isn't quite the outline yet, but rather just a lot of random scenes that you're collecting, compiling, and lists about those scenes for your story. Also, try to create lists of everything else you possibly can. Characters, character names, places, environments, etc. All the elements of your story. One final tip for this video: if you think you have researched enough, chances are you haven't. Research some more. Food, architecture, clothing, habitat, occupations, metals, textures, stones, wealthy living versus poor living, trade, transportation, music, etc. And then once you've created all this research, you need to take notes on this research and compile it all into one big long cheat sheet. And you can use this cheat sheet throughout all the rest of the stages as you create your story.